Hello, you beautiful humans. I'm here today to talk to you about how I personally navigated my spiritual awakening. Maybe some of you are feeling a calling inside or feeling like maybe you are going through a spiritual awakening. So let's talk about a little bit about what it is and how I went through mine. So a spiritual awakening is like this calling and desire and evolution of a higher consciousness, becoming like more self-aware of what's happening in yourself. And a lot of people go through this and experience this by connecting with the universe, God, things like that, a higher consciousness. And so for me personally, I grew up in a small conservative town. I always kind of had this question of like, why are things done this way? But why do I have to do that? And why does society have all these norms that I should follow? I had a lot of questions, and there was always like a strong intuition inside of me, a strong calling. But I continued on the path of go to college, get a job, work for the man, make lots of money, all of these things, and ended up in Los Angeles in an incredible job directing films, directing movies, surrounded by amazing people. But still, there was this huge calling inside of me. And if anything, I almost felt shame and guilt because I was like, why am I not happy with this? Like, I don't want to talk about the fact that I'm not happy because then what if I trigger my other loved ones around me to feel like they're not happy? Or what if they feel offended that I'm not happy in their presence? Or isn't this what's supposed to have made me happy? So why am I not? Like I had reached all these incredible goals that I had set for myself at an early age and then was still not happy. And I personally felt like there was this screaming inside of me. At first, it started as a calling, like an inner dialogue, an inner feeling, like a gut feeling that was trying to get my attention. And the more that I ignored it, the worse my like depression and unhappiness got, and the louder the calling got, to the point that I was like almost like sick over it, almost like I can't ignore this anymore. I'm in such a heavy, sad state when I'm surrounded by things that I think should make me happy. And so it led to me feeling extremely lost, extremely alone, extremely stuck and sad, super confused, mainly just really confused, really lost, really heavy, really stuck in my depression. I was indulging in all of the excess, all of the things that distract me. Smoking weed constantly, overeating, oversleeping, overworking. I was like all of the aholics, workaholic, all the things. And so if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling really depressed and you don't know where to turn, if you're feeling like there's this voice inside of you that's trying to get your attention, but you have no idea what it wants or how to listen to it. And also if you feel like you're aware or maybe not aware, but still doing it, of indulging in a lot of distractions like TV, cell phone, food, any sort of drugs, alcohol, sex, like overthrowing yourself into work, even though you know it doesn't make you happy. These are all signs that, that you could be being called for a spiritual awakening or an awakening of some sort. Your inner higher consciousness, your inner wisdom, your intuition, your soul knows that there's more out there. But you've been told your whole life that what is out there is a job and material success and money and all of these like very material things, finding a loved soulmate, finding love, having children. Like you've been told your whole life maybe that these are the things that will make you happy. But your soul actually knows that there's more. There's more to life. You have inner divinity. There's so much consciousness available. There's so much learning. You're here to have experiences and learn and expand your consciousness and grow and connect with the universe and divine things that are existing on this earth. And maybe you relate with some of that, maybe you don't. It's all about your intuition and what's calling for you. But so, For me, I had this huge calling inside. I had no idea what it wanted. I had no idea how to go anywhere. I was like, how do I take a step in this direction? I don't even know where to go. And to me, it felt like all I could see was this life that I had spent many years building, that I was supposed to love, and everybody else around me was like, wow, you're doing such amazing, beautiful things. And I felt like I wasn't happy. And so I saw this life that I was living, and then I felt like there was this other life that, like, this voice inside of me, this feeling inside of me wanted me to step into, but that life was completely black. It was just like fog and darkness and complete unknown. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea how to work towards it. It was terrifying to me because I didn't know anything about it. And yeah, I was just super afraid of the unknown. And I didn't really have a lot of people to be able to ask. I remember I had like one neighbor who was like more spiritual. And I remember she was like super into astrology. And I was like trying to ask her a couple questions. And she helped to kind of move me along the path. I could tell that like she really wanted me to discover things for my own, but she was like, yeah, you could look into human design. You could look into astrology. To start to understand about yourself and your timeline and your mission on this earth, in this life. And maybe that can help to give you some insight as to where to look, to follow this calling, to go into the unknown, to awaken to your soul and to your higher purpose and your highest self. So I just remember the voice grew, and the more that it grew, the more absolutely hungry and thirsty and dehydrated I felt for knowledge. I had no idea where to look. So I, like I said, started asking people. I had one neighbor that gave me some advice about astrology and human design. I like looked up apps and like online for astrology and human design. And I started to see astrology and just got like super excited and like dove into it, started to study it. Didn't know where to find more knowledge though. And so I started to kind of like put out into the universe, before I really knew what I was doing. I was just like sitting with this desire to learn, to grow, to become aware of what was calling me and inside and what it wanted. And so I kind of started to sit in meditation, but at that point it was really hard for me. It was really hard to like sit for a long time. And I was usually sitting like high, smoking weed or something, because I was so anxious. And so I slowly just kind of started to continue to keep an eye out for any knowledge of things that just felt good, felt like that calling inside liked, and was like, oh yeah, this excites me. Started to follow my excitement and meditate on trying to find these things more. And so an opportunity came to me. My friend was going to live in Tulum, Mexico for like 6 weeks. And she was like, do you want to come with me? And I was like, I know literally nothing about Tulum, Mexico. This was before Tulum was popular. If you've heard of Tulum, I had no idea it was spiritual. I was just like, yes, like I need a change of environment, because I don't feel like I'm getting answers here. And again, I was mainly seeking knowledge. I was seeking to understand this calling. And so I was like, trying to Google things and manifest it through meditation, or just simply by wanting it so bad. And so I got offered this opportunity, and I was like, that feels right. Checked in with my like self, and I was like, this feels right. So I'm going to do it. Went, and it was amazing. It was like the combination of this thirst for knowledge that turned into me manifesting knowledge, and then me adding onto it as well, trying to like tap into that inner feeling, that inner voice, and like ask it, like everything that I wanted to do. I was like, is this right? Is this right? Is this right? Because I didn't know where to go or where to look or what direction. So I was just kept asking this voice that was screaming at me. And it said, yes, to live in Mexico. Good. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm terrified. I'm going to go live in Mexico for 6 weeks / super excited. I do believe that like fear and excitement are the same exact emotion. They're just at opposite ends of the spectrum. And so sometimes when we feel fear, we feel excitement. And sometimes when we feel excitement, we feel fear. So I'm like, okay, this is a good sign that I'm going in the right direction, that I feel fear and excitement. So I'm going to go towards it. I'm going to trust this inner calling because I'm at the point where I'm like depressed and lost and like sick if I don't have to. So that's what gave me the bravery to go. And I go and the universe just aligns. It aligns everything I'm looking for. It gives me astrology knowledge. I meet astrologers that I'm living with who exchange astrology readings for me and help me learn. I have books that literally fall off shelves about past lives and like healing trauma with past lives that just fall into my lap. And I had another woman just hand me a book. She's like, you need this. I did energy healings. I had a woman, I was at lunch with friends I had met, and one of the friends that was sitting on the other side of the table that like we couldn't even talk, she like got up and walked around and came over to me and she was like, hey, I think that you're an empath and I'm like kind of hearing and feeling you and I think you need this. And she sent me a podcast about how to like set up protective energy, how to have energetic protection and boundaries. And I also did the energy healings of people that I found. I did different ceremonies. I did what was called a Temezcal ceremony in Mexico, which is just you go inside of a sweat lodge. You don't take anything. You just go inside of this like igloo looking stone sweat lodge with a fire pit in the middle and hot coals and a shaman throwing water to create steam and taking you through this experience of like pulling your heart out and offering it to the fire and offering anything that doesn't relate anymore and telling yourself you love it and all your traumas that you love them and all the people that ever hurt you, you tell them that you love them. And so beautiful experience. But my point is that all of these things that I found in Mexico were all because I trusted the calling inside and I went with it. And by trusting it and going towards it, I just opened this beautiful world of opportunities and knowledge for myself. And so I came at the end of that 6 weeks, I got this tattoo, which also represents my Temezcal ceremony. But it was like, I was so sold that I was like, this is my new identity and I want it tattooed on my body for the world to see, for me to remember that there's more out there and I can trust this calling and I can go towards it. And everything that I've ever been told that doesn't feel right and doesn't feel in alignment and isn't making me happy, it's okay that that's not making me happy. There's no shame or guilt that that's not the life for me. Something else is calling me inside of me and I will no longer be silenced. I will no longer silence it. I will no longer ignore it. I am going. And like, this was like me, like marking that on my skin for the rest of my life to be like, to remind me to never distract myself again, to never think that I'm not allowed to have more or to try to ignore that there's more out there, to continue to follow my heart and my inner calling. And so, yeah, that was a beautiful step, Mexico journey, Mexico part of my spiritual awakening. And with all these things that I learned in this time, it was incredible, but it was just like the tiniest sliver of the iceberg. And the iceberg was just huge and there was so much to learn and there still is so much to learn. But I just got hungrier. I was more hungry for knowledge. I was excited that like the calling inside of me was right. Like there is more for me out there, that I can follow it and I will be guided. And that just excited me so much. And it just made me even hungrier for knowledge, even more thirsty. And so I went back to my home in Los Angeles and I felt like a totally different person. I felt changed. I was like, I see that there's something more to life for me. And I think anyone who feels this way relates to this, and it's time for me to go. And so I still didn't know where to go. I still didn't know how to make the next step. So again, I went back into the voice asking it, listening to it, and I picked up every book I could find. I started asking people again. I started sitting in meditation and trying to manifest more guidance. And then the more I did that, the more people just handed me books. The more I learned about plant medicine and found plant medicine, sat with mushrooms, sat with bufo. The more I found friends that had aligned ideas, and we started having deep conversations, and we started asking each other like these deeper questions, like, what do you think about life? Do you like it? Are you happy? What are you doing to make yourself happy? Like, how do you feel? What do you want? Are the things that you have, are they fulfilling you? What is your calling like? How do you follow it? Like, just asking for advice and knowing that we're allowed to share that. I also started seeking, my hunger for knowledge also led me to start to travel more. I wanted to experience different religions and different cultures and how other people lived and worshipped. Sorry, I thought I heard something. How other people lived and worshipped and experienced life, and that to learn that like my one viewpoint of life was not the only option. Like there's all these people around the world choosing to live life in a totally unique way and worshiping totally unique gods and having their own religions and cultures. And I'll continue to share about that in different videos. My other videos, I'll explain like what I've learned from each culture and religion and how other people live their lives. So look out for those if you're curious to expand your reality by understanding how like other people are literally living right now in other places, and about other religions and other spiritual modalities. Because, slight tangent, I think that we're all experiencing the same thing. I think we're all actually experiencing the same energies and the same gods and goddesses, or just universe. But based on our different cultures, we've translated it differently into what fits in our culture. But we're all feeling this like feeling of that there's something else out there. There's something out there calling to me, guiding me. There's something inside myself that's calling to me and guiding me. And what I believe is that that the universe and God, yeah, is like out there, but really the universe and God is in you. It's in all of us. It's in our soul. It's like our soul is the same thing as saying the universe and God, and we feel, and that calling inside of us that's calling to us and trying to help us navigate is literally our connection to the universe and God. And so we feel that inside, we see that in the external world, and through thousands of years of life, different cultures growing in different parts of the world with different ways of living started to develop their view of what they thought this inner calling and this outer experience of God and the universe is. And then through like thousands of years of like worshiping those specific god, goddesses, deities, they kind of manifested the god, goddess, deity based on like because when enough people for thousands of years put energy into something, you create something. That energy exists. Also, like, I totally believe that Jesus Christ was an actual person that came down and did a lot of amazing things. So I don't mean to get deep into my tangent of religion. My point is that I was hungry for knowledge, and I felt the voice inside of me guiding me to continue my search for this knowledge. And so I did that through, one of the ways was traveling to other countries and other cultures and learning about what they thought of this internal calling and the external feeling of the universe. And so follow that hunger. Traveled, read books, had deep conversation with friends, plant medicine. Plant medicine is a great way to start to learn and grow your knowledge. It will throw you into it. The point of plant medicine is that it kind of rips off any veil that you're wearing subconsciously. It kind of pulls away any fog, and that fog and veils, those are usually there kind of to protect you. Sometimes they're overprotective and they need pulled away. But a lot of times it's like they understand that like you haven't slowly made your way there. And as you slowly make your way towards the knowledge, the fog and the veils will slowly dissipate and lift. But if you want to like get a pass go card, take plant medicine. It'll take that away for that time being while you're in plant medicine. And it will be overwhelming, most likely. It will be like, whoa, I just learned a lot. I need to sit with that. I need time to integrate it. But it's so beautiful and so healing, and I've done a lot of it, and I love it. But feel into yourself. It's not right for everybody. It's what's best for you. Are you willing to go through an intense experience to kind of have that pulled away? For me, I was so hungry and thirsty for knowledge that I was. And so, yes. And so that leads me to the next part of my spiritual awakening, was starting to integrate all this knowledge through meditation. And sometimes I think people get a little bit lost on what I mean by meditation. So look out for my meditation video of like how I meditate. But what I mean is sitting with the voice inside of you, sitting with the feeling, sitting with the way you feel, sitting with the voice inside of you, sitting with that feeling of God, that connection to God in the universe. And so it was like I was gathering all of this knowledge, and I was growing as I was gathering this knowledge, and I was starting to understand, and things were finally starting to make sense. And I was like, yes. But still so much to integrate, so much that was like blowing my mind. But at the same time, I was like, whoa, I've known this all along. Like I could feel that my soul always knew these things, but that my mind was it had forgotten everything because I came into a new human life where you decide to forget everything when you're born. B, because I was in this fog of like what I thought like society had taught me to live out and like the social norms. And so I needed to integrate all of these things. So yeah, my soul always knew them, but my mind didn't. And that disconnect led to my spiritual awakening. That disconnect led to that calling inside of me getting so loud. That disconnect led to the beginning of my spiritual awakening, where I was living in Los Angeles as a film director, surrounded by amazing people, thinking that I had everything society told me I should have, but still feeling so depressed, so stuck. Like the inside of me was screaming to be looked at and paid attention to. And I was like, it was like my soul and my mind. It was disconnected. So a spiritual awakening is almost like connecting your soul and your mind together and using both your mind, your human experience, and your soul, your divine experience, and bringing them together. Oh, does anybody hear that noise? Wow. Sorry, I'm hearing like a really faint, like beautiful, like whistling. I don't know if it's coming through or not, but anyways, my point is that taking the human experience of the mind and the divine experience of the soul and letting those things work together. Because if you're just trying to be in one or the other, then you will feel them fighting each other. And so my spiritual awakening felt very much like the alignment of those two things. And those two things starting to work together, because I am a divine soul, but I'm also here living a human experience, and I am a human. And so there's no need to fight one side or the other. It's like, use them both to trust yourself, trust that feeling inside, trust that knowing inside, and just take one step at a time. And each step, check back in. Does that feel good? Does that feel right? Self, I'm talking to myself. And then be like, okay, it does. Keep going. And of course, it's terrifying and scary because you feel like you're in the dark and you're like, I'm taking a step away from this incredible life that I built, that I thought my whole life was going to make me happy, and that society's telling me I'm supposed to be happy. I'm walking away from that. And I'm walking towards this complete darkness and unknown just because this voice inside of me is so loud, I can't ignore it anymore. And so it's trust that voice inside of you. Trust that it's your connection to the universe, it's your connection to your soul and your wisdom, and it is guiding you in the right direction for a purpose. And yeah, so also that experience that I just described was very much me moving out of Los Angeles and going nomadic full time to travel the world full time and dive into my soul's experience. But anyways, back to my spiritual awakening. As I was gathering all this knowledge and starting to feel like my soul and my mind were connecting, but I didn't necessarily understand what was happening. It's why I'm here now. It's what my YouTube channel is about, is trying to help people who feel like they're going through this experience that have no idea what's happening and no idea where to look. I hope that my knowledge can guide you or just give you some sort of insight. Of course, I am no incredible guru who's like on top of a mountain meditating for the rest of their life, not eating or having children, but I am climbing this mountain too, and I have had a lot of experiences, and I would use those to share them with you, of course. But so as I gathered all of this knowledge, I had to start to integrate it. And so I did a lot of the integrating by meditation or just rest, seeking a place of quiet, like letting myself get bored. Like I almost had to set time aside to not read, to not absorb TV or music or anything, just sit in silence. Usually I would do it outside, so at least I could be absorbing the sun while doing it. But just like silently letting it like settle. I don't have to think about it. Like sometimes I'm thinking about it, but sometimes I'm just feeling my body and letting these like waves of energy, these upgrades of energy and knowledge just go through my body and like settle, which is also what I do in meditation. So sometimes I would literally sit in meditation. Sometimes I would just like big chill on the beach and just like feel it. And even though I didn't necessarily understand with the mind what was happening, I knew on some sort of level that I could feel that my body was relaxing. I could feel the energies were moving, and I was like, my vibration and my frequency was raising. So having a time and a space to allow all of the things that I was absorbing to integrate into my energetic field and my body. And then I just continued to follow the calling. Just continued to check in every step of my life with that inside voice. Even sometimes when I'm like looking at like, what do I want to eat? Now I'm at the point that I'm literally like, what feels best? And literally that's what makes me feel the best than when I eat it. So not the point though. The point is just that was my experience of my spiritual awakening, having this crazy calling, which led me to feeling really hungry for knowledge and searching for it and trying to manifest it into my life because I didn't know where to look. And then using my intuition of, does this knowledge that is getting handed to me feel good or not? Do I want to continue to search into this more, learn more about this or not? And then going and having a beautiful travel experience, which you don't have to have, but was my experience, that pretty much it was just the universe answering the call and giving me a bunch of knowledge that I felt good about and trusted. The whistling's back. And then I continued to have this search for knowledge, even though like the universe delivered. I continued to have more hunger for knowledge, and the universe delivered more. Sitting in meditation and integrating this knowledge, and then just continuing to follow the calling. My desire for knowledge, I mean, maybe got a little bit smaller, but I'm always reading, I'm always studying, I'm always traveling, I'm always pulling experiences. And that doesn't mean that that's how you have to gain knowledge. That doesn't mean that this is what your spiritual awakening has to look like. This is totally just my experience. What felt good to me, the only thing I would recommend is just follow your calling. Follow your inside. I'm sure you're afraid, but you are wise. Your internal voice and feelings are guiding you in the right direction. And the more that you follow them, the more that serendipities are going to start happening and lighting the path for you to continue to guide you. Of course, it's scary to step into the unknown, especially if it's away from the things that society has always told you you're supposed to want. And so just be compassionate with yourself, be patient. There's no rush. Take one step at a time, enjoy every step, check in with yourself, follow your calling, know that you are wise. I didn't mean for this to turn into like an advice giving session. So please forgive me if that doesn't resonate with you, but this is my experience and what I felt called to share. So thank you for your time. Much love.